Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers, a music podcast where a group of friends gather together to share music with each other, an album at a time. It's like a little book club for music. It's fun times had by all. I'm Petey Rave. Here with me is my crew, my squad, my team. We've got David.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for listening.
Mm-hmm. We've got Brett.
I've got prods. We can prodcast.
And we've got Matt.
I am so happy to be on. I am proud to be on this proudcast.
Yes,
That's
proudcast. Yeah, we're here to talk about music. We're going to talk about an album. It's going to be an interesting album. The provider of the album this week is Brett. Brett, what have you brought forth for the group this week?
Well, nothing except for the best-selling hip hop album of all time.
Once again, everyone else is messing up, and I'm the one that's on medication right now.
Well,
It's
okay,
all in your mind.
that's right.
You're right.
Yes.
I'm high on the hammer because I brought "Please Hammer, Don't Hurt 'Em," a hip hop album from a long time ago, 1990.
Yes. Very much from a long time ago, and musically from even longer ago. What was I'm curious. What was everyone's expectations? I'll go with Matt. Matt, what were your expectations coming into this album?
Well, I think the only time I've been exposed to MC Hammer that I'm aware of anyway is having listened to and heard the listened to and watched the music video for "You Can't Touch This." And it's pretty hard to take someone seriously when they're wearing hammer pants. And so I was expecting.
But what if it is
be,
MC Hammer?
I mean, even then, I was expecting it to be a pretty lighthearted content throughout.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you just look at that steep angle that he's pulling on the album cover.
Whoa. With like the fake denim, the textured. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. David, what were your expectations coming into this album?
Oh, expectations. Come on, Petey. Let's not put up a front here. I'm not going to pretend that MC Hammer wasn't a significant part of my childhood. Of course he was. I'm not going to pretend.
When it happened. Yes.
I'm not going to pretend that I'm jumping into this album blind. I'm not going to act like I didn't love the cartoon Hammerman with the cartoon shoes. I'm not going to act like I don't know this album full of its Sega Genesis ass samples.
Yeah.
I will say this, Brett. I want to ask you. I was not here on the Record Breakers podcast during the wrestling big boot band era, if you will. I was not a part of this podcast. So I have to ask, not the Funky Headhunter, not the album I would probably pick, Too Legit to Quit, but this album in particular, Please Hammer, Don't Hurt 'Em. I want to ask you, Brett, H to the I to the BBITY, B to the IBBARD. I want to ask you, why this album from MC Hammer?
I had it on cassette tape. It was all over everywhere. The cassette tape was it was like, if you were my age, so I was probably like, by the time it made it to rural Midwest, I was probably a little bit older than 6, but I was there for the cartoons. I was there for people wearing hammer pants to school. Yes, white kids in the Midwest were wearing hammer pants. Like, I was there for that, and it wasn't Vanilla Ice. It wasn't the other ridiculous things of the era that used samples and mainly focused on dance. This was like they're called hammer pants, and it's a thing.
The lesser
He
of
was
evils.
the guy. He was the guy.
And this is also like I'm trying to think. This was before it was ridiculous because there was hip hop coming out that was very much not this.
America's Most Wanted was that year.
Yeah.
Straight Outta Compton was a couple, like we talked about with Fresh Prince. So it was a couple of years earlier. So this is
and like the Digital Underground making fun of Hammer was around this time too.
Same year as Sex Packets. Yes.
Yeah. So the weird time to go
for MC Hammer. I had some expectations, maybe some low expectations, but we'll see how they were met. How would we describe this? Brett, how would you describe this album musically?
So, like even like you said, we're stepping into the '90s, but this album's stepping back to like 1980 sometimes with it. It's kind of it shows the digital instrument age. It was not quite there. There's a sitar that I will talk about later that really tickled my fancy. That this was, this leaned heavily on funk and soul hit samples. This is the most if people did not know Rick James because of Chappelle Show, like you knew Rick James because of him being sampled as a 6-year-old and being like, that's the way because you weren't allowed. Well, I'm saying this all incorrectly in my brain. I'm going to read my notes correctly this time. So with this is probably one of the most successful sampled tracks. Like I can't think of anything as smoothly put together as You Can't Touch This, as you would for using a Michael McDonald song for your hip hop track. It's pretty perfect for that stuff. So this was when your Vanilla Ices and stuff were doing a lot of the sample tracks, but Hammer's delivery is the least smooth. There's some talk singing in this. The choruses are repeated like 18 times per song, and most of the songs are over 5 minutes long. Yeah, like
36.
Yeah, like 5-minute songs that do that are not good, even if it's a dance focused album. So like when we break it down to tracks, like I'll get into more. But yeah, like it's MC Hammer. Like it's the reason why people make fun of this stuff.
Yeah.
He did tighten it up later.
Yeah.
For the Lord.
Yes,
Not
for
really.
the Lord. He Matt, how would you describe this album musically?
I enjoyed going back to my expectations. I enjoyed the mix of the serious and not so serious songs.
I think they were all serious. They were all serious.
Yeah, they were all serious.
They were all serious.
That's why it's funny.
That's why it's funny. But go ahead.
The name of
Funny now. Funny now.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Now.
A big issue with sampling and creating beats is that 4-measure loops at the most tend to make themselves known fairly quickly, and by the end you're like, man, I've been listening to the same thing for 5 minutes, the same beat. Okay, we'll go with that.
Whoa.
I've been listening to this 1 minute
I
song
have
for 5
thoughts on
minutes.
that. Yeah, and I usually expect 5-minute songs on, I don't know, jam band, jazz, not so much rap with 10 choruses per song.
Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah.
Whoa.
Every time. We're the halfway mark,
David, how would you describe this album musically?
Bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's not as bad as the rapping Hulk Hogan, but it's.
But see, it was as outdated as rapping Hulk Hogan was. Like it was of the same era. It's just rapping Hulk Hogan happened 5 years later, so it was extra outdated. But yeah, it was extra. God. If I were to describe this song musically, it was corny as fuck. This was music. It was music made for dancing, and I get it, and people can like credit it for not not having a pretense. But there was a little bit of pretense in some of, actually we'll talk about a particular song later on when we got into the B tracks. That was kind of an eye-opening moment. But yeah, it is music made for performing on stage. MC Hammer is a consummate performer, not a great composer or lyric writer,
or singer.
Not much musical flow.
No.
Yeah.
He made, he had beats so he could like gyrate around on stage at his live performances, and that was fine. It's just, even in that regard, there's far better material out there to enjoy for dance music. Like, it is like Fresh Prince dwarfs this in like its approachability and skill and musical flow, mainly because of DJ Jazzy Jeff is being a genius. Like,
and it's actually quite a bit less cheesy than this, actually, because the Fresh Prince was never trying to pull off the stage show of being the character MC Hammer. He was the Fresh Prince.
He was just a young guy who's a young guy who's coming here to let you have a good time, where like, and that was, he didn't try to pretend to be anything beyond that, but like
a smack talking pajama wearing man.
And it is, there was songs that like were about 1 minute songs. If you heard like things like this now, you would just assume that somebody made a 1 minute song at most and then just copied and pasted it in GarageBand and just up until the point where they got, all right, it's about 4 minutes, okay, cool. And then they just like said some things over it. But they actually did that all manually, which is wild.
Tape.
I skipped nearly all of these songs. Like I got like most of the way through them, determined that I get it. I get it. Yeah. It's
I
like,
hear you, Petey.
I didn't know that was an option.
I know.
Well,
We
also like I did some of that, but yeah, I know this album whether I want to or not.
Yeah. I just, at some point you get it. Like, it's always like, okay, I got the point of the song. Okay, I get it. Okay, I get it. If I were to sum it up in one, I don't think You Can't Touch This is a good song, and we'll get into like, the tracks. But like, if I were to sum it up, I'll say one killer, all filler. Like, it's like, this is really all I could sum it up with. But let's talk about the key tracks. Brett, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, I mean, it'd be foolish not to talk about the Grammy-nominated track "Here Comes the Hammer," the opening track. Yeah.
People get up in arms about Jethro Tull when you had. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Here Comes the.
Okay,
I mean,
sure.
It's always been like that, and it's always going to be like that. You're going to look back and wonder, how did Here Comes the Hammer lose? No, it's an opening track for a dance-focused album. The thing that's noteworthy about it, more than it being it's a Grammy-nominated song. That's nuts. Well, what were people thinking? You Can't Touch This.
The Grammys don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, but yes, You Can't Touch This. Everybody knows the song. Whoa, whoa, whoa. It's a really great use of a sample. That sample makes this song exist. But it's also a parody of itself. Have you seen her?
It's just a cover.
Have you seen her?
He wasn't
digital
trying.
sitar.
He literally was not trying.
That was the second single off of this album.
He wasn't trying. That's why I ask, why this album, Brett?
Because this was best-selling hip-hop album in history. The world needs to know that people had bad opinions. Help the Children.
Yeah,
Pray.
not even trying.
Yeah.
And then
even trying.
And then Pray, like using, if you're sampling Prince, like you better deliver. I don't think this song also was released as a single. This is a hilarious thing that made a lot of money, and looking back, it's amazing. I don't know how.
Yeah. Oh man, it's hindsight is a wonderful thing. Matt, how would you what would be some of the key tracks for you?
So, Here Comes the Hammer. The uh-oh. It reminds me of, and this is not necessarily a reflection upon Here Comes the Hammer, but there is a piece of musical art, if you want to call it that, art music, called The Most Unwanted Song. And it is a 20-minute long song that includes stuff like bagpipes, accordion, cowboy music.
Oh, I think I've heard this.
Yes, and
I've heard this.
The thing that this reminded me of, which I'm sure was inspired by this, is the soprano cowboy rap that starts with somebody going, uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. And the most wonderful soprano cowboy rap that you could possibly imagine that I keep meaning to turn into my ringtone. Just look it up and last as long as you can. It's worth it.
Yeah.
I would say it was a pretty good as a first track overall of like, okay, this is kind of what to expect for the rest of the album. You Can't Touch This. I had only listened to this song in the background previously, and I had watched the video once or twice. But I had never paid attention to the lyrics, so I'm like, I'm gonna do my homework and I'm gonna read along the lyrics while I listen to this. And I think it works really well as a song that you don't do that to. Just let it kind of wash over you and look at the hammer pants and it'll be all fine. I did appreciate that this one actually had a couple of interludes, just to break up the 4-measure loop. Yeah.
And then it stops, and then it's hammer time.
It was like
exactly.
AABA.
Yeah.
It was like it's
like
usual...
AAAA super short B. AAAA super short B.
Unlike the usual Hammer songs, which was just
A. Help the Children.
Won't somebody help the children?
That's right.
Okay, I kind of like this one because A, it had a good groove, and B, the chords actually moved around a little bit.
Thank you, Marvin
It didn't
Gaye.
stay on one chord for the entire freaking song, so that was good. And again, once you start to read the lyrics, it's like, well, yeah, that's. I mean, I'm not going to say no to that message, even if it maybe is not delivered in the most eloquent way, perhaps.
Fuck them kids.
That's right.
Kids.
The children did not get helped.
No.
I've got news.
No.
Also, I'm sure this is old news to everybody, but I also watched if you want to call it a music video for Here Comes the Hammer, the film student end of semester project, if you want to call it that. It was 8 minutes, 10 minutes, and included about 3 minutes of the song, mixed extremely low to the point where I was wondering if I was watching a bootleg.
Guys, we need a minor deviation. Maybe we can make this like a special bonus episode. I need a reaction from Matt for the Too Legit to Quit video.
Oh God, he'll be doing hands dancing. He'll be tutting.
I need it.
I think you know what? We should we can do it for the social medias. We'll do it an IGTV thing or something. I don't know. Whatever we do.
So all of our Patreon backers at the $5,000 level will get exclusive content.
Heck, for $5,000. No, I'm not. I was gonna say I'll recreate it, but having not seen it, I'm not gonna.
Some weirdo will do it.
That's right. Yeah. People are willing to do dumb things.
Yes, exactly. David, what are some of the key tracks for you?
Crime Story is a straight up after school special, and that's amazing. The song Pray, that one actually took me back because that was a song that kind of echoed in my house in my early childhood. I came from a family of Prince fans, so I think that one took hold in the house at the time. I will say Dancing Machine was better than I expected. Of the obvious, shameless, you're not even trying sampled songs on this album, I thought that one was probably the best, and it was Hammer almost rising above his obvious limitations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we all touched on like the songs like Here Comes the Hammer is a weird first impression. I mean, nobody's first impression because everybody knew it was a hit. But first impression of the song, it was hard to really follow and honestly hard to dance to.
But not if you're doing this. If you're like hiking your pants and you're doing this and then you're doing this and you're waiting for the turnaround.
Uncle Hammer is being weird again. Yo,
please, Hammer, don't hurt him.
That's right.
Please, Uncle Hammer. Yo, sweetness. Again, it's one of those. I think of all the songs, I think that one just sticks out as the most of being at most 1 minute song stretched out to 4 minutes and 36 seconds. Help the children. Hammer tried to be woke. Tried. Crime Story was an eye-opening experience for me because it's one of those things where I realized, oh wait, he was trying to be hard long before everyone noticed him trying to be hard. Like he was pretending to be hard way before Humps and a Bump.
Yes.
Matt, have you watched that video?
Yes. There will be
That'll get a rise out of you
to the Hammer. Like there were a lot of things that happened in Hammer's life over the years after this album.
The Hammer. Just know that you'll see the Hammer, but these aren't the Hammer.
You're spoiling it.
Also, she's soft and wet. Uncle Hammer wants to play. No, Uncle Hammer wants to play again. Oh no.
Please, Hammer, don't hurt him.
That's right,
Uncle Hammer.
Please.
I don't want to play Uncle Hammer. I don't want to play again. I don't want to play Where's the Hammer.
You can't touch this. You can't touch this.
You can't touch this.
No,
I don't want to play Where's the Hammer. I don't want to play Here Comes the Hammer again. Again, these aren't the Hammer.
God.
Yeah.
Okay, before we move on, nobody pointed out, and I forgot to do this in my turn. He rhymed stereo with Cosby Show.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was the 80s.
Absolutely.
Stereo Cosby Show.
Yeah.
And the nice percussiveness of stereo.
Sorry.
Yeah, he's
just
here.
Very choice.
Hammer's around and he's here to say that he likes rapping about the Cosbys in a real way. Like,
as far as bars go, MC Hammer's pretty much a tavern.
Mm-hmm.
But he dances and he's got those pants and he goes like while they go whoa 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 in like more than one song. It's like Like
that is a thing that happened.
To be a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's friends with the turtles.
Exactly. They
Does that not surprise me?
No?
As is Vanilla Ice.
I mean, yeah. To be fair.
Yeah. So Ernie Reyes Jr. Would be appalled at all this discussion. Let's bring it back around the horn. Talk about some conclusive thoughts. Matt, how would you conclude on this album as a whole?
I actually enjoyed this album more than I would have maybe expected. It certainly got repetitive. This thing is like 2 seconds short of being an hour long. And it could probably be about half that length
Or less.
Yes.
and lose zero content. Not even like valuable content, just content in general, non-repeated content, and still be really good and probably a lot more enjoyable for a lot more people. That said, I mean, there were certainly some things. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm kind of grooving to this. Yeah, this is fun. But it was. I would not nominate this for a Grammy.
Would you think, if you were to think of the best-selling hip-hop album in the world, would this be the first thing that you thought of?
No.
It'd
I
either
don't
be
think
this or the real Slim Shady.
Yeah.
Or the Marshall
mean-
Mathers LP.
I'm the wrong person to ask, as everybody knows. I mean, Can't Touch This is good enough that I can see somebody being like, oh man, that's a good song.
Yeah.
I want to see the rest of this guy's work.
I don't even think they released it as a single, like in the way that they record singles. It was like a 12-inch instead of an 8-inch EP. Like there's some things around this album's production and release and how it became a thing. Yeah, the 90s, the early 90s. You know, we were all like on that George Bush, like, read my lips feelings.
Yeah.
This was before Weezer's Blue Album,
Which would
count.
be a much. I would really like to hear that hip hop album. Read my lips feelings.
Hey, it's in a lot of albums from the time.
Yeah.
I can think of at least 3 that have that sampled.
Yeah. David, how would you conclude on this album as a whole?
This album has a lot of 2 and 3 minute songs for what could have been a decently fun pop rap album. The problem is that most of the songs clock in between 4 and 5 minutes, sometimes longer. The samples and melodies are beyond derivative and obvious, which is why I was saying, dude, you're not even trying. You got a decent DJ, you do something with these, but you're not. You're not even trying. Honestly, Too Legit to Quit and The Funky Headhunter are much more fun. This is not MC Hammer at his peak. Your quotes.
Yeah.
He's done better.
Yeah. Yeah. This album is not great. But it's sold well. But luckily it's been supplanted by four other albums that are all, if I look at that list, all superior. In many ways. So I'm glad for that. But yeah, this album is too long for what the actual content is in there. It was outdated for its time. Because at this point I think we were already a couple years into really harder, more complex thing, like harder gangster rap and better rap albums, and
Will Smith had gone on to do TV.
Yeah, and like I said, America's Most Wanted was this that same year. So it's like, better hip hop was out there.
Yes, NWA was NWAing.
Yes,
long before
this NWA and like had already shedded a member, and we're going through growth spurts, like through growing issues, and going to their their mid of their careers as rappers. So it's man, not a great album. not a good album. It's fun to go back to and experience it, but not much else to say other than it's just I can appreciate that he was unabashedly pop rap, and people would give him credit for that, but I don't know if he necessarily even excelled at that, which is
stop being nice, Petey.
Yeah,
cut that promo. Let the hate flow through you.
I think I don't know. There's not much else to really say. So Brett, how would you conclude on this album as a whole?
So as much as we're around here saying that this is a bad album and it's not good, and there's nothing here that is there's nothing here that shows extreme effort. There's not a lot of but Entertainment Weekly gave it an A-, and white people all over America bought this on cassette tape.
Yes.
So it has its place in history. It was the 9th best-selling album of the decade that it was in, and there are a lot of very, very famous albums in the 90s. So I would just say there's always a time and a place where you're going to find yourself, and you're going to be listening to what people are buying musically, and you're going to have to think of yourself, is this just another Please Hammer Don't Hurt 'Em? Are we going to look back in a few decades and be like, why?
Yeah.
And the answer is, most likely yes.
Yes.
Also, they won't make a cartoon, but
yeah,
probably won't see any pop artists be on a Ninja Turtles live action thing.
Are you sure, Brett?
I mean, no, because if I know anything about the Eastman and Laird, they'll say yes to things.
Yeah. I will say the one thing that I would throw in there. This is a great album to point to if somebody ever says something to the tune of, they didn't make shit like this in the 90s. They made shit like this.
I mean, there was more than just MC Hammer to blame for the mess that was pop dance rap.
Yes, exactly.
But he also made a lot of money.
We can move on.
Yes, there's a bunch of great. Nostalgia rots your brain and makes you forget that there's always been bad music. Now
the only people nostalgic for riding in a one-horse open sleigh are those who never had to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I believe that was Jefferson.
Exactly.
Starship.
Before he yeeted his last haw.
Yes.
Yeah. Jefferson Starship Airplane.
Uh-huh.
The famous cabbage farmer.
All right, let's get to the haikus before the melatonin really takes over, Deej. Melatonin. So he's lost. Let's get to the haikus. We get to the main event of the evening. Well, the moment we've all been waiting for. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Haikumero numero uno. Matt, what is your haiku?
Quite enjoyable. Quite often repetitive. Whoa, uh-oh.
Yes. David, what is your haiku?
I don't think I'm gonna make it. Some lazy samples. Hammer is not at his best, but will get better.
Mm-hmm. My haiku. It is corny now, and it was corny back then. Just stick with the hit. And lastly, Brett, what is your haiku?
Yeah, it is silly. Extremely of its own time. But it had its place.
Mm-hmm.
in the cassette deck of a 1989 Ford Tempo.
Exactly. So those are our thoughts on MC Hammer's "Please Hammer, Don't Hurt Him." I don't think I'm gonna get a very I don't think we're in danger of getting a very nice reply from MC Hammer.
God, would that just be great though?
Just in case anybody was wondering, in the years past, Hammer did not eventually hurt him. So we
did
everybody's safe.
Apparently, according to Redman, he did roll deep enough to be threatening to people. Like he had there. Oh, that was the other thing that I was gonna bring up. There's stories from like other rappers on like how deep he rolled. Like specifically, Redman was talking about how he had like such a crew that dwarfed his little crew that he just like he had like way back then did a line where he kind of like says something about fuck Hammer and his mama, and he was confronted by Hammer and his crew like, yo, don't ever talk about my mama, and he was like, yes sir. And then like he was at another event and he was like surrounded by MC Hammer's crew, and they were like, oh, let's go.
40 of them.
Jeez.
There was a bit, and which speaks to, I think, honestly, with like the hard, playing hard, trying hard thing, like maybe just speaks to his insecurity as a person. Yeah, just like had to put up a bigger front than anybody else.
I will say, for the record, I like the girls with the pumps and a bump.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll get to that.
But who put the bump in the bump a bump?
That would be the Humpty Hump,
Exactly.
Obviously.
Yeah, I mean, some people say it looked like MC Hammer on crack. You can, of course, listen to this album on our Spotify playlist. Play Record Breakers, the home game. Do your due diligence and your dude diligence. Play along at home. On that Spotify playlist will be next week's record, and it's going to be provided finally by Matt. Matt, what do you got? What do you got for us next week?
I will be bringing the Frank Zappa album "One Size Fits All."
Mm-hmm. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm gonna look forward to that. Right up in the same alley. Just follows right through.
Oh yeah.
Such a smooth transition. But you can look forward to the Zappa Talk next week, but that'll be next week, and this is this Zappa week. And you can, of course, find us all over the internet. David is at Call Me DJM. Brett is at HibbittyBirbird, HIBBITYBIBBARD. Matt is at MRiddickW. I'm at PD Rave. The show's at 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com. RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com. Rebelly.net for this and other shows. Rebelly TV on YouTube and other things. You can find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud. Anywhere you can subscribe to podcasts. Like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, slap the walrus, spank the monkey, do all the things. Until next time, hasta los luego.
Toodaloo.
Rebelly Podcast, baby.
I mentioned I like to dance.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.